Well, hey, everyone. Welcome to the Gundam Explained show. I'm your host, Adam Blue. Joining me is Steven of Midnight Hatter. Steven, what is going on, man?
Let me tell you, it's been a wild day.
I know
Um,
you told me. Is that something you'd share on here?
yeah, so I mean, obviously it's pretty common knowledge that you and I both have kids. My kids are much younger than yours. My oldest ended up in the ER today. She's fine. Yeah, just to preface it with that.
Yeah.
But there's nothing quite like leaving work where like your office is like an hour commute away and your wife calls you and is like, "Hey, we're going to the ER because your daughter needs stitches. She fell and like busted her face open." And I'm sitting here like, "Oh geez, like what happened?"
What now?
Yeah, and then I'm like, "How is this my fault?" Because that's just as a
Right.
parent, you go to that, right? Um,
Yep.
but I mean, the funny story is that like she is probably, if we don't take care of it, which we will, we're going to do the sunscreen, we're going to do the Bassett trace and all that good stuff. We're going to make sure that we reduce any scars. I
Okay.
actually have a scar in the exact same spot. And let me tell you, my story is a much more embarrassing than hers. I think I was about 16, maybe 17 years old. And my brother-in-law was living at my parents' place at the time, and this was awesome because my brother-in-law, like, I would come home from high school every day and we would play Halo on Legendary and we like beat the campaign mode on co-op together. That was like
Good
the
times.
best thing as a teenager.
Yeah.
And so, one night, don't know why, but he's watching the movie Center Stage on my parents' TV, and I'm trying to make fun of him. So I execute a flawless Grand Plie, wearing socks on the hardwood floor, and my feet went out from under me and slammed my chin on the ground, and blood everywhere. I actually told the doctor when we got to the urgent care, like, no, no, it was a skateboarding accident, but like, no. I
Oh.
definitely split my chin open doing amateur ballet for my
Oh.
brother-in-law.
That. Oh, so that's kind of crazy, though. Who knows if she was doing ballet of some kind?
Maybe, you know
She could have
what?
been
I
like
should
sleep.
get her in dance classes, like, just to
Yeah, get her body moving. No, that's interesting. Speaking of injuries, and what's really interesting is, I had my hand injury that I got like, a week ago. And
Yeah.
it's been getting better, but it's been really difficult. Like, so, it was mainly the left. If I'm looking at my right hand and I'm looking at it, is mainly the left side. Yeah, the palm, the pinky,
Okay.
and even the
Yeah.
ring finger. And slowly it got better and better. But what was interesting is, like, I've been still doing the weight training, and I've learned a lot about like working through injury and working through pain. Like, you kind of should. Like, I think it'd be easy for me to go, and I'm not like judging, but it's like, my hand is injured. I can't work out for like 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
That's easy to do. But I didn't. I went, and so it would just be, he would be like, okay, well, then let's hold it this way. Or I figured out how to do the chin ups, even with the hand like this, just how I form it, and then like my left shoulder will then start feel like, because now I'm making up for it. So it's an interesting time in the working out of doing that. And then, the other thing, we had some contractors come by, and then so when people come to the door, my reflex is to shake their hand. And even as I was going to shake this guy's hand, I was like, "Oh wait, nope, no, no, oh, I got to. It's too late. If I pull out now, he's going to think there's something weird and wrong that could affect the level of service." So I just
Yeah, you
went
don't wanna
in
do
with,
that.
and I could just feel him squeeze the set, and and so I'm just sitting there, not screaming, just screaming inside, just kind of like,
Well,
"Hey, come
'cause
on in."
contractors are like man's mans, they
Yeah,
go in and they go in hard for the
yeah.
um,
Yeah, that was the
yeah.
case. And this guy was very talkative, and he was talking to me for a while, and I'm sitting there just like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah," and my hand is like, but it was actually a really cool talk, because this guy, it's like how he was just talking about how he started his own business. What he did working, with a company, and then bought over time, and it kind of inspired me, because kept saying, "Man, I could have done this 20 years ago." He's like, "I should have done this 20 years ago," thinking like, man, there's some steps and leaps we can take sometimes, that we don't realize. So it was cool to hear the perspective. But
100%, man. It's scary to get started. And I think that you and I have both had the experience where people have come up to us and talked to us about being content creators, about doing the things that we do. And they're
yeah,
just like, man, like how do you do what you do? And what's funny is it's like I still have like a sense of imposter syndrome. I don't know about you. Um, but it's just like you just start. Like
that's
you're
yeah,
not going to be good at it. So you just start
right.
because the sooner you start, the sooner you can get better at it.
Get to where you want, figure out how you want to do it. Because I will say, I think the imposter syndrome has gone away, but I think it's because of how much I am making content, like my Blue Gamer Monday through
100%.
Friday, because I just want to care about, I want to talk about video games and it has very little subscribers.
Yeah.
Like, I feel a little more like I don't, like with Gundam Explain, it's like, oh, I'm starting this thing, and how do I talk? What do I do with my hand? No. But I guess this is a good time to plug it because Jamkill X told me I should plug more. Blue Gamer YouTube every morning, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Central. About I do gaming news and play some games before work. It really primes me for the day. It
It
does.
is pretty cool because, and you've talked about this both on this channel and even on your LinkedIn, where it's like trying to create a new paradigm around the way that we talk about video games, the way that we talk about Gundam, the way that we talk about all these things, where, it's so easy to get caught up in negativity and like gossip and that kind of like e-drama.
Yeah.
And it feels like a lot of video game coverage these days is 100% like e-drama.
It
Like, let's
is.
see who's getting canceled, who's doing this, like who's doing, and
Who's getting laid off? You know.
right, yeah, who's getting laid off and who's doing the layoffs, and and it's always like, let's slam the alarm button on the video game industry is collapsing. The video game industry, which has been collapsing for the last, what, 25 years, something like
Yeah.
that.
I
It's
remember PC gaming has been dying since the 90s.
right. It reminds me of like climate alarmism
Oh
almost, where
yeah.
it's like, dude, we reached peak oil in 1988. Like, there's no more oil. What are we gonna do? And it's like, well, there's actually like every
A
5 years when they
Yeah.
say like, hey, the climate is we're all gonna die in 5 years. It keeps going. Same with the video game industry. And so I like that you keep that in perspective over on Blue
Cool.
Gamer, where when you're
Yeah.
talking about video games, it's like, let's talk about specifically this game and the mechanics in it. And
Right.
like that, it's not what you typically would get from any other
Right.
gaming outlet.
And if I am to cover something like, that whole Xbox drama, I do it very quickly and I try to like even at Microsoft had to come out and say, guys, we're still doing hardware.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like people jump on these things and that's and so it's interesting. I'm glad you brought this up because it's something I've always thought about. And I haven't really articulated it because I do follow video game news every day. I dislike a day when there's something dramatic that then takes over the video game news cycle of that day. That's not really anything substantial. It's more about gossip and drama. And then I'm like, man,
There's a lot of nothing burgers and
yeah, yeah,
a lot of speculation. It's like, oh, Nintendo filed this lawsuit and therefore like everything is doom and gloom. Like, oh, the entire video game industry is going to collapse because Nintendo is going to patent all video game types. Like,
I know. No, but
which may still happen, but at least we're not going to dwell on that.
and we don't have to worry about EA doing that. Since
Right.
they got bought, I don't know. Yeah, we don't have to dwell on it. I think that's the good takeaway here. And I think that's also what I try to do with Gundam Explained. It's fun to get into the little fiery drama here and there, but usually it's more, oh, let's talk about something cool, which we will be today because they dropped and it's not even really considered the second trailer, but I think it is the second trailer to drop. And it coincided with it saying that it's a US theater opening in US theaters, which is
Yeah.
awesome. I didn't
Huge.
see a date or anything, but I'm thinking January, February, that's kind of what they do, like Freedom and G-Quux.
I could be wrong, but I did see on Twitter somebody said January 26th. And to preface this, they said, "Hey, a reason not to kill yourself before next year, January 26th, Hathaway." And I was like,
What a way to
hopefully you have more reasons than that. But in case you needed an extra, January 26th,
but dude,
Hathaway too.
that date's right on. I mean, I'm pretty sure Freedom came out like on a January 20 something. So
Sounds
that's pretty cool.
familiar.
So yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the new Gundam website, which is interesting. And I've always joked because, like, I've been getting into Godzilla, and Godzilla.com is such an easy way to go and find the latest Godzilla stuff to get. Whereas if you want to go to a Gundam website, you got to go to en.gundam.info. But now they changed it to en.gundam-official.com. Which, okay. I mean, but anyway, yeah, we'll look at that. It should be fun. Real quick, Ian Hansen in the chat, Sneaky Sama, our mod. Adam and I have talked about this, but I am fearful of the technology not working. So this has to do with streaming, because that's the other hurdle with making content, is utilizing the technology so where it's not working against you.
Yeah.
That's
And I'll say this about that is because, like, I know a few popular creators in the Gundam space in particular. I mean, like Darth Vader, who is huge on Twitter as, like, does the Veda Bowls and, like, does the Gundam popularity contests on Twitter. He's a big Twitch streamer, but he also tries to do, like, the VTubing thing.
Oh yeah.
And the more complications you introduce into your streaming setup, the more likely you're going to encounter those types of failures. And so my advice to him was always like, dude, drop the VTubing, and, like, if you don't want to show your face, that's cool. Like, obviously there are lots of Gundam content creators that only started showing their face recently. Like, just do voiceover, make sure that the base works, and then start introducing the VTubing and the production value stuff later. Because if you don't, like, you're just kind of setting yourself up for failure, right?
That's really good advice. It reminds me when I was starting this channel, I was trying to do everything at once. But once I got down my flow of recording and editing, research, recording, editing, then it's like, oh, I can throw in things here and there.
Exactly
So
right,
yeah,
man.
that's really good. Get your bass down. And that's funny because that came back down to me maybe about 5 years ago, whenever I got my electric drum set, maybe a little more than that. And then I was like practicing, and I was talking to a friend, and he's like, an older guy, and he's all like, I know you've been drumming since you've been in your 20s or whatever, but what helped me was learning the basics. And
Which
it's
is,
like,
it's funny when, I mean, you think about, like, when we've talked to like Gunpla aficionados, people like
yeah,
Nick Laprade and, like, the IPMS judges. It's like
yeah,
the things that they're looking for are like
or the basics.
nub marks and, like,
Yeah.
seam removal. It's like you can have the most amazing gimmicky build in the world, but it's like if you don't do the foundation stuff correct, you might as well not even.
So that's interesting, because now that we're talking about, which is, I think the analogy works. But then if I was to turn it around, what's different about music, and maybe no, okay, because I guess I'm looking at it in the lens of an award ceremony. There are people out there that make awesome builds that might have a weird nub mark, and I guess sometimes it's like how it's expressed. Like the music,
Mhm.
like black metal. A lot of black metal is purposely recorded in low quality, lo-fi, but it's
Mhm.
to give it that
Yeah.
atmospheric effect. I don't think you can always get away with nub marks given off an effect, because it will just look like, oh, this is a toy,
No, I don't know the source of the quote, but
Okay.
it has to do with music theory, where it's like you have to know the rules in order to break them. You can't,
Oh, yeah.
like, because if you don't know music theory, but then you try to intentionally record something that's dissonant for effect, the problem is it doesn't come off correctly because you don't know the foundation of why you're supposed to do that. So it's like, if you know the rules of how to play the game, then you know how to break them in a way that's artistic and creative. Whereas if you don't know the rules, if you don't know the basics, and you try to break the rules just out of a way of, like, differentiating yourself,
Yeah.
it's going to come off amateurish and not
Or like it's something, oh, we figured that out.
right.
You know,
Yeah.
but that's cool you brought this up. We one of your shows a couple weeks ago, maybe, you were talking about that with video games. Like
Yeah.
in a video game,
100%.
and I think that works in life, video games, the parallel content creation. Know the rules. And then once you know the rules, even if you're failing at meeting the rules, you might learn how to work around the rules or make the rules work for you. Break the
100%.
rules, but in a good way. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
You got to know the rules to break them.
that's good advice stuff here. I like how this is
Yeah.
starting already.
We're starting deep this
I
this
know.
evening. Um,
Let's see. I guess let's move on now. I want to talk about the Hathaway to trailer. Let me bring that up real quick, and I'm just gonna have it play while there's silence, though. So for the people
Mm,
watching, the main takeaway I got from watching this is it's not really showing anything more unless there's something hidden. Well, in terms of story, it's really just saying that the girl Gigi is going to be center of the story.
yeah.
You know what I mean? In terms of the protagonist, antagonist, or whoever, Kenneth and Hathaway really are going to be. There's going to be some temptation in some way or another, and it might not be surface level of Gigi being involved. Now, the other thing too, and I brought this up in my little trailer reaction that I have up, is I've not that I've gone out of my way to avoid it, but I haven't gone out of my way to seek what the story is that has been written for Hathaway, because this is
Mhm.
based on an original story. Um, so I want to ask you, Stephen, do you happen to know the Hathaway story? And if so, does this trailer hint at any of that?
To be honest with you, I don't know the story
Okay.
outside of like the rough outline of, Hathaway being this terrorist leader that's rebelling against the Earth Federation government, which is kind of like a callback to Zeta, right? Because the whole idea of the AU is rebelling against the Federation government, but not in a way that's like pro Xeon. It's definitely more of a um it's different, right?
Right.
Um
Yeah, just standing up in general, which in Hathaway, in the first movie, that car ride with the cabbie kind of explained that situation. Um,
correct.
yeah.
But Hathaway is a character that frequently lets his emotions get the better of him. We saw it in Char's counterattack, and we see it in Hathaway as well, where his affection and his being drawn towards Gigi and Alicia is his weakness, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know how much that is more than it just being a new type story, or are they purposely going to get deeper where no, there's more to Hathaway and Gigi. You know what I mean? Like, because sometimes, like for instance, Camille and Four, like you see all of these new type characters that seem to like fall in love, and you think it's going to be something deep, but no, something will happen, and then they'll move, and it almost seems like, oh, they
Yeah.
weren't meant to be. There's
Well,
not
and
a
they
lot of meant
definitely
to be.
they downplay the new type thing in Hathaway
Yeah.
compared to some of the previous entries in the Gundam series. So,
Right. Yeah, they talk about it just here and there. And I wonder if the amount that they talk about it was just enough. So if you were going to be like, why is Hathaway and Gigi like this? You could go, oh, well, it did mention the new type phenomena, which even further makes this seem like it's really just made for fans.
in a way, yeah, but like what's fascinating about Hathaway is it's the first time in UC history where you have a character who has a protagonist, I should say, who has experienced that new type pull, uh, and then they are meeting somebody else who's experiencing it for the first time. So like to bring it full circle, it's like Amuro and Char knew what Camille was going through because they had both felt it with Lala.
Yeah,
In
I
Char's
see.
counterattack, Char understood what Hathaway was going through, even though he never met Hathaway. Even Bright and Amuro, they knew what Hathaway was going through with Quest because they
Yeah.
had experienced it before with Lala. Um, what you see in Hathaway is Hathaway, I think, has an inkling of why he and Gigi are
Okay.
intertwined with one another, but I don't think Gigi does, and that's what's kind of interesting is like, it's kind of the pressures on Hathaway to say,
Okay.
"Let's stop." You know what I mean?
So maybe that is then the direction this goes, because you do bring up good points. Because in the first movie, I think I remember there was one scene they talk about new types, and that was them sitting there like, "Oh, didn't they used to teach it in school or something around that?" So yeah, it really does make it seem like Gigi wouldn't know,
You're
but
right.
Hathaway has an inkling. He's not saying anything. It's almost like he doesn't want to fulfill that prophecy of, "Oh no, I am a new type, and she is too, and I'm just going to cause another."
And that's kind of the worst part of it is it's like he knows that once he acknowledges it, that
Yeah.
that they're really it almost kind of puts an asterisk on any romance that they could have, because then it's like, well, wait a second, are we really, is there really anything here, or are we just, you know,
Yeah.
bonding over new type stuff?
So that's what I'm wondering by the end of this. And like, sure, there could be some big character moments, like a character dies, they get together, they don't. Part of my question, and this is the question I asked of Witch for Mercury and G-Quux. I'm interested in the political landscape. Like,
Mhm.
if, is it that at this time, at this period, Mafty really is the biggest threat? You know, and if that's the case, are we going to see, there was some shots showing some more messers with the Kasai, so we could see Penelope with the Gustav Karl. Like, if we see
Yeah.
cool, like a fleet battles like that, that would be sick. I'm hoping for something like that. Yeah, like this scene that we're showing right here shows the Kasai. Actually, unless they're showing different scenes, it almost looked like the Gustav Karl was shooting the Kasai, although that would make, or no, the Penelope. Let me go back. No, that was the Kasai. Yeah. So
Yeah,
that would make sense of the Gustav Karl shooting the Kasai. So that part has me very intrigued. Like, sure, the character stuff could be good in this, but I think kind of knowing where we are in UC, I'm more interested in the fleet battle logistics. I loved what they did in narrative because it was more Luo and Co. and Karaba and not like another like military state or something. It was like
right.
these corporations. So
And that's almost what you have going on with Mafty, right? Is it's not
yeah,
it's not a war in the sense of a true like boots on the ground type of conflict. It's more of like
yeah,
an insurgency, which, you know, eh, I'm kind of reminded of that old Norm Macdonald joke. Have you ever heard that one where he's like, "Yeah, I was flipping through my history book here, and isn't it interesting that the good guys always win?"
I love that. I love that.
And it cracks me up because, you look at a situation like this where Mafty is this terrorist organization, but at the same time, it's like we already know that the Manhunters who came out of ECOWAS are like
Yeah,
an oppressive regime of like a fascistic military
right.
force. And so it's like, even though the insurgents are the bad guys, are they really the good guys? Or, and I love
Yeah.
that type of nuance in the conflict that makes it interesting. Now, of
Well,
course. Oh, go ahead.
well, no, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, I mean, we kind of already know the answer, right? Because from where we go to Victory Gundam and like
Right.
Crossbone and F91, like we know where this goes, but like
So that's
they don't.
cool. Yeah,
And
because
yeah,
in like Crossbone or Victory and Crossbone especially, it's like Earth is almost like in the medieval times. We get the guillotines executions that are happening. So it could be that within this Hathaway story, we're kind of seeing the downfall of Earth into more of maybe the greater population is in a poverty state, whereas you still have like maybe the elites that are fine in some places. You think of all the
yeah,
colonies that have dropped, the asteroids, and again, watching Victory, I loved that way. I mean, you had these military groups just hiding in the woods,
yeah,
like that is really cool. So, um, so something else I want to bring up, and you might not be able to answer this. We might not want to talk about it, but are there any parallels with what's going on today? Because when you see the news and you see like in Portland, there's these people that are rising up against the law. I don't know how much this stuff is theater in a way,
yeah,
because sometimes it's like I feel like a lot of times it's very coincidental, or is that the word, where something will be televised at the right time, or all the video, you get
yeah.
and so I don't know how much even Gundam leans into like propaganda, but it's like something is swelling, but then the government, the media kind of helps, you know, swell it
Oh,
up a bit more.
100%. Now, one of the things that I would say about Gundam as a franchise is that it's not a contemporary, like you're never going to find a Gundam that like, oh, this is a direct reference to this real conflict that happened, um, you know, in the last 5 years. And And I would say that like most of the time when people try to do that type of comparison, whenever they're like, "Oh, well, did you know that Xeon are the Nazis?" It's like, well, yeah, like like Degwin says it, right? But in a lot of ways, Gundam does a better job of representing ideas more than current events.
Yeah.
So, like, the idea of a corrupt bureaucracy that is enforcing rules unfairly, and then like a paramilitary group rising up against them. We have examples that we can pull off the top of our head to represent that, but they're never going to be perfect one-to-one allegories it's not a because it's not an allegory. It's not a, these are it's about telling stories about human beings and people. And one of the things that's kind of a constant when it comes to Gundam is that like there's no good guys and bad guys.
Yeah.
In war, there's no good guys and bad
Right.
guys. There's just guys,
Yeah.
like,
I know.
and some of them are good and some of them are bad, and they might be on one side or the other, but it doesn't necessarily make them the right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that is a good way to put it because I do think, yeah, we're getting these ideas through characters, and it doesn't mean the character is right, wrong, good, or evil. It's just like someone that was on Twitter too long, and they're like, you know what, that shouldn't be happening. I'm gonna and not realizing, oh, maybe they're being played. Maybe this is just the media, but it's now Gundam might not do this because it wasn't that factor wasn't aware. They weren't aware of this factor, but the underlying how much of the government play into things is just a play, which actually isn't that what happened in the original Gundam when they were gonna um, do the treaty,
Uh,
but behind the scenes, and yeah, and then in Origin they expanded on it. Oh, I'm because remember Char ran into General Revel, and they're like, oh, wait a minute, let's let this go.
right, because Xeon captured General Rebel in like the first week of the war,
Yeah, and
and
so
then
it's
he
like,
was rescued.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, even something like in narrative where there's like propaganda around the existence of new types and
oh
like
yeah,
information that's being suppressed. And I mean, shoot, here's an example that I think is probably one that you will not hear people compare Gundam to very often, but it's like the events that happened in Waco, Texas with like the Branch Davidians. Isn't it interesting how over the last 25 years, the public perception around the government intervening with this compound in Waco, Texas has gone from like most people were generally like, "Oh yeah, they had to rescue those kids, like it was terrible what happened," to like now as more information has been disclosed and things like that, it's like, "Wait a second. Like this was all just like a big sting operation that like the
well,
government was implicit in what happened." You know what I mean?
that's interesting because then it actually makes Unicorn even more relevant.
Yeah,
Finding out things later that were trying to be hidden. I mean, I think, we come across that a lot in our history. And I guess I bring
100%.
this up because sometimes when I'm watching like a new sci-fi show or action anime or something, it's like, am I going to be compelled by the world, the story it's telling me?
Yeah.
That's why Witch from Mercury was hard to believe because it didn't take that next level with the corporations. It was other than that one guy playing dirty, it was playing it too safe most of the time, it seemed.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, like, I just I get the cringe, I get the embarrassment by proxy when there's that whole scene of Mjolnir saying like, $240 billion is how much I'm gonna auction my company for, and like who's investing for me, and it's like, we're talking about a 17-year-old girl that says that her business plan is to buy another company and build Gundams, but not for the purpose of war. And she doesn't really have a business plan. I'm like, this is again, I've said it a hundred times. Is it's like the corporate storyline of Witch from Mercury was written with like a middle school understanding of how the stock market works.
Right. And you would
Um,
think because of the tone shifts, the violence that people would be readily there to understand the political plot or the
but,
corporate
but the character
element.
work in Witch from Mercury is fantastic.
Yeah.
Love the character work. Like Shadiq and Elan in particular, those are compelling characters, especially someone like Shadiq, who is such a unique villain among the Gundam franchise, because we're talking about like a refugee
Yeah.
essentially, who then like worked his way into, and I'm sure that there's like a lot of parallels that people could draw to like current events of like
Oh yeah.
refugees that find
Immigrants.
themselves in positions of
Yeah.
power in countries that they're not from, and then they start exploiting that, and it's like that's Shadiq. Like,
Yeah, so it is interesting how, and this goes back to your thought, which I'm always going to keep this in mind. It's about the ideas. So even if there is a grand world strategy that is the story, a lot of times that can be driven through the ideals of something, because you're not seeing it as it's right or wrong. You're seeing
right.
it as this is where the character's going. How does that inform the other characters? How does that inform the world? How does that inform the mobile suit battles? Which, that's what I enjoy. With the and yeah, that will go, to bounce off real quick. That video I released yesterday of, the strike and the
And the
Aegis,
ages, yeah,
like, that's another one where that's a cool battle because they're really friends. And Kira
right.
just happened to be, with the Earth Federation when all that went down, and happened to get the strike. And, I love
That
that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of my favorite aspects of Seed is that Athrun and Kira are, you know, it's something that you didn't see in the original Gundam, but that could have been played up more, is the idea of it's almost like a civil war, right? Like, you
Yeah.
look at like old American Civil War diaries and things like that, and it's like, oh yeah, my neighbor just happened to be 4 miles north of me, and like he happens to be on one side and I'm on the other. Never had a problem with each other before now, but let's
Uh,
just go out to the field and shoot at each other. And it's like, you
wow. Yeah,
know,
being told, like, just think if we're like, people are like, you know what? Those people over there are actually bad. And
oh
let's say
yeah.
you don't know them well, and you're like, "Oh, okay." And it's so easy to kind of get a group of people to go along, with something.
And you know what's a great example of that
Hmm.
is this right
Oh,
here.
yeah.
Boom. I I didn't mean to have this prop ready. There's a backstory behind this. So
Okay.
obviously tomorrow, G Generation Eternal Stardust Memory Volume 2 is going to start
Oh.
over on G Generation Eternal. There's a couple of new EX units that are coming out. And I was having a conversation with our mutual friend Ultronymous, who I think is still in chat here. And it occurred to me that like I thought that Gundam 0083 was a like longer series than it was, and I was like, I feel like I watched the Blu-ray and it's so freaking long. Like, I mean, you look at this and it's 3 discs, 3
Yeah.
Blu-ray discs. Like that's a long series. And I was like, wait a second, no, it's only 13 episodes. What?
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like 13 episodes. Let me tell you that. Um, but to bring it back full circle, the idea of ideals and like the way that Koyuraki had been as a test pilot, as a Federation, ensign, it's like, he kind of bought in, he drank the Kool-Aid when it came to
Yeah.
the Federation. And it wasn't until he started fighting Anna Volgato that he's like, oh, like you guys actually believe in something. Like you're not just fighting because someone told you to. Like you really believe in Space Noid independence. Like that's something like it's like it never even occurred to him
Yeah.
that
Which is a good character story, because a lot of times when people are thrust into these stories, it's for random reasons. But this is, just a guy that signed up because that's what we do.
yeah, right?
And
Like,
it's,
oh,
and then yeah, coming across someone. Yeah, think about it. And this happens in Gundam, and Char's good at this. Uh, Someone comes across Char and he talks his ideals, and he's like, "Wow, this guy's really passionate about what he's fighting for.
yeah.
I'll stick with him. I have no passion over here. I was just doing this because I was told to."
Dude,
Yeah.
Quest is the perfect example. Like during Char's
Yeah.
counterattack, and like Char and Amuro are punching each other's brains out, and Char's just pontificating, and Quest is like, "Oh, he's right." Like people are never going to get it. They're never going to grow beyond the earth, and so then she's like, "Well, I want to go with that guy because he's charismatic and he
Yeah.
gets it, or he gets me." Well, so that's the thing about cult leaders, right?
Yeah.
Is cult leaders have a way of making people feel like they've been seen, and that was where Quest was coming from. Is it's like it's not that Char gets it's that Char gets me, and that's why she was drawn to him.
Dude, Char is a late 90s, early 2000s emo band.
100%.
Like, you listen to him and people are like, man, you get me.
Yes, 100%. He's peak AAFI.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so I guess, yeah, to kind of close off this talk about the trailer, awesome that it says coming out US January. I cannot wait for that. Something to look forward to.
What are your feelings about it? Like, how, what's your? I know that you already recorded your impressions earlier, but like, if you could sum it up in a sentence, where's your head at when it comes to Hathaway 2?
I'm super excited to see it because really watching the first Hathaway is like watching the modern, I don't know, Tom Clancy or the Bourne, like of that era. You know what I mean? So this is the one
100%.
that's made for the person that's into the world and the technology. And the characters are secondary, which I think I like that sort of Tomino style, subtle character stuff going on, because like the character stuff is rich, but it's subtle, and the world is what's really informing of the character action. And so that's the other thing. I got to give it to Sunrise Bandai. I don't know who. It's like Hathaway embodies that Tomino-ness, which you think it's very subtle stuff, but it's there,
100%. And I think what's most emblematic of the Tomino ness is in the early parts of Hathaway 1, when the woman gets up on the plane and starts to run away and like bam slams into the wall and knocks herself out.
Yeah,
because that is like I mean, I know it's such a slapstick goofy, but that type of stuff is so it's so like real characters, like I bring this up sometimes when I'm talking about Zeta, and there's like a scene when Camille, it's after Camille's parents have been killed, and he's talking to Char and Emma and Rekoa, and he gets up and he's trying to like storm out of the room, and he trips over Emma's leg and falls over. And it's like, that is such a teenager, like dweeby thing to do. And again, like animation is such a deliberate medium. Like you have to draw that. It's not like you accidentally tripped over somebody leaving the room. And so it's like, that is pure Tomino, the idea that like somebody can embarrass themselves like that. And that's like how people actually behave.
Right. Like you've been in situations where you might have to be talking to someone that's like super high rank or something special for something. And it's like, you have to ask them something, and then you're like, okay. And you turn around and then you're like nervous. You might say something wrong. I remember, I was saying thanks and thank you. And I said, thanks you, that type of thing where it's not a big deal, but it's,
or like when someone tears your ticket at the movie theaters and they're like, enjoy your movie, and you say, you too.
You too. Yeah, exactly. That's pretty good, I gotta say. Okay, so we're gonna move on to something here real quick. I wanted to tell you guys about this movie Lily Cat. Now, this is an anime that came out in '87. Have you seen it?
I have. What's funny is it's like, this is always trending on Instagram. Like there's like tons of clips that always show up on Instagram for me, and I'm like, it's a little
okay.
cat.
Yeah, it's like this and Demon City Shinjuku and Vampire Hunter D and Wicked City. I think it's made by the same people, but this is what we watched anime night with Go GFX Unlimited. He was there, and one of my other friends. And I wanted to show this because this is like those movies I talked about. This is in that ballpark. It's about an hour. It's pretty much like a neat sci-fi. It has an alien plot. You said you saw it, right?
Yeah.
And it has like the time thing where it's like, so it's a criminal went into like cryo to go out in space. So in 40 years, they'd forget about him, but a bounty hunter was chasing him and was there too to get him. And it's like, that's so crazy to think. The guy loves his job so much, he'll throw away his entire life to catch a guy.
The love of the game.
Isn't it past the statute of limitations at that point, depending on. Yeah,
and there's like some of that body horror element to it. Like that's great.
Love it. Yeah, that's why I like. So Lily Cat is definitely my type of anime, just like those others I was talking about. So, and actually, this on Anime Night, people liked this one. I think it's because it is a consistent story. It's only an hour, and it does a good job. It does the thing at the beginning of Aliens where it takes time to introduce the characters,
Yeah,
like as they're getting out of the cryo and all that. So, I definitely recommend
interesting.
that. So,
Yeah.
is there any other anime you've seen in this vein that we haven't talked about?
Nothing specifically like this. The other night I did make my wife sit through the Cyberpunk 2077 anime that's on Netflix, Edge
Oh,
Runners,
yeah,
um, which, has an equal level of body horror, graphic violence,
yeah,
that type of stuff going on to it. But as far as story-wise, it's very it is like a walking trope. Like it's the story of it is so just played out like and I think part of it is just it serves as an advertisement for the cyberpunk game,
yeah.
right? Like that was the real purpose of it was to get more people to play the game. So
Yeah, which is interesting that that's the thing now that works. It's like have the game, have the show, have the game, have the movie or the
they
animation,
they did it with what was that League of Legends with the Arcane
Yeah,
show and
yeah,
and to a lesser extent I think that they did it with like the Castlevania.
yeah. Oh man, that the Castlevania thing is so weird because like I really like the first 3 seasons, even
Mhm.
though they make some, you know, and I don't want to offend anyone, but there's obvious DEI style changes that they made, which
Of
it's
course.
okay. I mean, you did kind of change the whole plot then, but okay. But that recent season, I couldn't finish it. So this is what
I think
it
they changed
does.
writers
Okay, they changed writers.
because I know that Warren Ellis was the first at least 2 seasons,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
I'm a huge Warren Ellis fan,
Okay.
like X-Men, Iron Man, he did some
Oh.
really good comic book runs, so
Well, something it did that. What's another show recently I was watching that did this? Tokyo Vice. I don't know if you saw. It's on HBO Max. First
I
season.
haven't seen it, but
Great.
yeah, I've heard it recommended
But
a lot.
by the second season, it does this thing that these shows do sometimes where they will introduce a character and then that will be a main plot for like 5 episodes. And you're like, but I wasn't here for that. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, well, I think that there's a lot of that that tends to happen, um
To just fill time and space. It has to be.
to fill time, and there's a lot of, like, self-insert type of stuff that happens, like, I don't know if you ever watched and this isn't an anime, obviously, but, like, on Hulu, that show, The Bear with, Jeremy Allen
Oh,
White,
I'd watched an episode of that. Yeah.
and it was like, the first season is all about Jeremy Allen White's character, like, he's the main character, it's all about his struggles of, like, moving back to the hometown, taking over his brother's restaurant after his brother's been killed, his brother dies. And but then every season since then has been like, well, we're going to focus on these other characters and he's just going to be like kind of like an ever present, like he's there, but he's not the main character
Mhm.
anymore. And so it's very clear that the writers that they wanted to write about these other people.
Yeah.
But, in order to get their foot in the door, they start with like, "Hey, here's this character that we think is compelling." And sometimes it works. I mean, like one of the best episodes of The Bear is the one that focuses on his cousin, but it's one episode as opposed to
Mhm.
like an entire season. So like one episode they focus on his cousin and it's like this he goes through the arc. Like it's his redemption arc
Wow.
and that's one thing, like to have one character get a redemption arc in an episode, but to pivot and do like an entire season about somebody else when
Did you ever watch The Wire?
no, I never did.
The Wire is amazing, but it almost the second season is completely different characters.
Hmm.
And I remember going, "Oh, come on." And I'm watching it anyway, and I'm like, "Oh, this hurts. What's happening?" And then over time, it's like, "Okay, I guess I like these guys," but it's like I didn't really care about this,
Right.
but I watched it. And that's the weird thing about the Castlevania the show is, they'll change the story to add certain things, you know,
Hmm.
but then they do plot lines for these certain things. It's like, well, this isn't Castlevania,
Right.
and but part of me was like, no, 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 because the other part too is I think, and you made me think this, especially if they do episodes with own characters, is how much a writer might enjoy getting to play around more with a character in that world, not the
100%.
audience, but the
Right.
writer.
It's
Yeah.
total self-indulgence.
Yeah.
Like,
Which, if you get a chance to do that and get paid to do that, that's really awesome. But at the same time, it's like, I wonder if it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know what to write about anymore, but let's do this thing I want to do. And sometimes it works, I guess. I don't know.
yeah, I mean, well, and let's play devil's advocate. Is what's a perfect time that it worked is in the original Gundam series when you had the story of Kai and Miharu, where it's like
Yeah.
you have the story's obviously about Amuro, right? Like
Yeah.
he's the protagonist, but then you have this couple of episodes where you focus in on one of the side characters and the romance that he has, and it presents an opportunity to do some world building and create this it's a much more rich environment. And I think
Right.
it's similar to like what I was talking about with the bear, where it's like you take one episode and you focus on another character to just give them an opportunity to tell us more about what's going on in the world. And man, Miharu is like
It worked.
Gundam legend. Like
No,
that worked.
and I think it worked too because the manner in which she was introduced and Kai was focused on was huge to the white base crew at that point. Like,
Right.
as an audience member, it's almost like, wait a minute, what are these side characters doing? Kai, you shouldn't do this to the white, but it's like, and that's a really good way to introduce a newer character or other
100%.
characters have them ingrained into like plot beats.
Right. Yeah, that worked really, really well.
Yeah, because Tokyo Vice, it was going. There was this girl that worked at a restaurant, and in the second season, they focused on her opening her own restaurant. And it's just, I didn't really care about that.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of reminds me of like watching The Witcher. And it's like, I thought I was watching The Witcher, not Yennefer.
Okay. So, yeah. And I think, I wonder how much that is of, we need to fill some time. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, Lily Cat recommended. But let's move on to this. I wanted to show everyone the new Gundam website, and I think I'm gonna change it around real quick to see if I can. No, okay. Anyway, this actually looks pretty cool. Although again, I'm covering more than I wanted to because you can see how it says like Gundam and it has a cool V fin there.
Yeah.
Way better looking than the other website, even though it's not like it needs to be fancy or anything. I'm gonna so I think Steven, you can see the whole thing, but I have it kind of cut a little bit on stream, but it's okay.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because at the top it has series, and I do love the little animation when you go over series. Okay, let's click on series and see what happens. I got to say, earlier when I clicked on the website, it took forever to load.
I was gonna say it is very media intensive because you've got like videos playing, and
and it's funny because they made it similar to the Gundam Explained website, where at the top I have the tracker. if you're a Patreon, I got to mess with that more. But anyway, so yeah, you go to series. Oh, the timeline. Remember that one? We haven't worked on that in forever.
Yeah. Who came up with a timeline?
I know we got that, but anyway, no, the Gundam site now has this timeline, which is pretty cool. I guess it allows you. It does Universal Century. Wow, it's saying GQuex is Universal Century.
Man,
holy,
if it's official, man.
Wow. Okay, wait a minute. And then I guess it's official. Reconquista. Okay, so and that's pretty cool because see, it has Watch Now, which does that take you? Crunchyroll. Okay, see, they're adding the stuff we were talking about.
This is like exactly what you and I were building.
Yeah, literally, like because if you
go,
I don't know if we had one on this version. But yeah, we had it where we were linking.
You can filter by timeline, and then you can sort it whether it's by chronological release date versus date in the Universal Century. We had done that too.
Yeah, which we could probably still revisit. Oh, here we go. List. So grid and list, that was something else, but that's still not a list.
Still thumbnails,
So okay, so this is really, I gotta say, it's really cool that they're finally doing this. So we got news, and yeah, just news, nothing crazy there. And then products. This is what I'm curious, like, what are they actually selling?
Right.
I'll click on it. Nothing now. So like how the Godzilla.com website works is like on P Bandai, they sell Godzilla stuff, but on the Godzilla website, like they sell it there too.
Yeah.
They probably just haven't got that. And then the follow us on all the social medias, a login. I'll have to test that later to see.
Yeah. Like what does having an account on Gundam.com get you?
Oh, it's a Bandai. It signs you into your Bandai account. Bandai ID.
Yeah, your Bamco ID.
Okay, so so I think it's really cool that whoever Bandai, they finally went through to kind of update the website, and I think having the animation on the front right here really makes it look like it's the top tier IP that it is, you know.
Right. 100%.
Although
And it's interesting that this happened, is this literally like exactly 1 month after they redid the P Bandai website?
Oh yeah. So I guess that's all that they did, the Bamco ID, P Bandai website, and then this. It was funny because when I was at Bandai, one of the things was they're asking feedback on their Gundam.info. And I was just say it doesn't really have anything on it. But at that time, I never saw the Godzilla website, so I didn't realize I had something I could show them to be like, here's an example.
Yeah, you never realize what you don't have until you see what other people do have. Is that is kind of a weird way of putting it?
Yeah. Yeah. So, which I mean, how else did they come up with the new Gundam website than coming to GundamExplain.com and seeing what we've been working on?
Well, so like for example, like what do you get when you go to StarWars.com?
Oh, good question. That been to many times in the past. It's been a long time. Yep, series, same visuals in a way. Yeah.
Loads a lot faster because it doesn't have an animation going on. But
I know, like, let's try this again if I can.
While I do appreciate like the text effects and stuff like that, I mean the loading screen with the bouncing Haro, that stuff's cool. But that stuff does impact your TTL scores when it comes to like getting page loads.
Yeah.
So especially on mobile, like I can only imagine what this looks like on mobile.
Yeah. So that's crazy that it took that long to come up right there. Dude, looking at is that really animation from Endless Waltz?
That's from the Frozen Teardrop trailer that came out last month.
Because that looks so good.
It is really good. Yeah. I mean, I really do hope that they do like the Frozen Teardrop anime that they seem to be teasing, because man, Wing Gundam deserves all of the love indeed.
Yeah, I like the sand. That's the Sandrock, right? The Sandrock with the.
Well, they all wear cloaks in.
Oh, they do. That's pretty sick, actually. Yeah, I'm liking that a lot.
So the mobile experience is entirely different from what's on the desktop, which is kind of cool.
Oh, okay. So does it load better?
Yeah, a little faster. I mean, because it's not as media intensive, but
okay.
There you go, man.
I think this is a good direction for Gundam. Like, again, as I'm meeting people and talking about Gundam, like when someone hears something new, how often they're like, well, is there an official website for that? You know, like usually you just search. And so hopefully, the website is providing.
I lose you?
Oh, you know what? I got a frozen Steven, but you're back. Okay.
Okay. What's funny is you froze.
Oh, wait, but now I can't
kind of
hear
funny.
you.
Did you lose me again?
Oh no. Well, hold on. Let me check.
I mean,
luckily it's near the end.
I can hear you.
Oh, so. I can hear you now.
Okay, cool.
Excellent. So Yeah, oh yeah, I was looking at this because I want to make it where, yeah, again, telling someone about Gundam, they search, they find the website and be like, oh, this website looks cool. Oh, series.
There you go.
And then, get to, okay, that's taking forever.
I think that they got mad that I made that video that was like where to start watching Gundam.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and when I made that video, they were like, "Well, we can't have this guy saying that you need to start at the beginning. So we're going to create a whole website experience that tells people to start with IBO Erder Hunt
Yeah. And then G-Quux,
and
you'll
then
never know
G-Quux
what's happening.
and then Requiem for Vengeance just to make sure that like once we've taken you out of it, we're going to bring you back in and
But hey, Origin's there.
Origin is in there. Yeah, for sure.
Wait a minute. Interesting. What is that? Is it a
Silver
recut? Because
Phantom is in there.
it says 2024 movie. Is it?
Did they compile all 6 episodes of the OVA into a movie? The theatrical cut.
Yeah, you know what? That sounds familiar. I think, was it like last year they did that with that and something else or something like that? Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, that's the Gundam website, and it's cool that they did that. Yay. I guess I don't know. But anyway, though, I am just super excited that we're getting more of that marketing train going for Hathaway. The other thing too is, just to talk about my bad collecting habits, is I really want that newer Robot Spirits cost signature Kasai, because I have the old version that doesn't have any decals, and it's based on the novel, but I want the new version based on the movie. They're just expensive, so I need a plan to sell that one to get the new one. Well, and anyway, I guess I'm bringing this up because I'm wondering if they're going to re-release or is there going to be like, because we already got the high grades and the messers,
Right.
we got a Gustav Karl too. Like, what other merchandise? I wonder if we're going to see some new mobile suits. I wonder if we're going to see like the water stuff they're talking about underwater. That could be metaphors, that could be real. Or if there's maybe other lines that they could do of the Penelope and the Kasai. I don't know. Yeah, what kind of, I think even the original Hathaway didn't have that much merch anyway. Other than
No,
yeah.
it almost felt like they weren't sure how well Hathaway was going to be received.
Yeah.
And I think that that's understandable given that Narrative and Twilight Axis were kind of underwhelming in terms of like fan response.
Right.
But Hathaway, I think, is different.
Yeah, and it's different, and it's interesting because Hathaway, Narrative, these are all more mature like stories. So I appreciate we get that. Yeah, with this. So, but I guess I didn't ask you, what's your excitement on Hathaway?
I mean, I'm pretty stoked. Like, as far as the UC Next 100 project goes, that's what's next, right?
Yeah, getting the continuation of the UC stuff, which I think is our favorite and all that. So
100%. And yeah, what I would like to do, I think, is in at least very soon we should get together with Kyle over at Simply New Type, because and I was talking to him about this too, is I was like, man, there's a lot of people that are talking about, we need a remake of 0079, and I'm like, do we need a remake of 0079, or do we need more of like the Next 100 type stuff?
Because I was thinking I want a remake of 0079, but I would rather them first do an English dub of New Translation.
Yeah, or Double Zeta.
Double Zeta for real. Like, I almost feel like that won't happen. No, actually it will. And it's going to be AI, but it's going to be pretty good by the time that they do it. I think we're going to be like, Double Zeta has an AI dub. That's pretty good. It's not like it was like, here's Evangelion and we're doing an AI dub. It's Double Zeta. I think people will accept it.
Yeah, I mean, Double Zeta is already slop, right? So like, what is a little extra AI slop on top?
So slop, though, would you agree that it's not as much appreciated as it should be, or do I just tend to like it too much? It's just after Zeta, it continues that tone that
Yeah.
even
I,
that it gets a little goofy, but it, you know,
I think it's very underrated. And in
okay,
fact, I saw the most brain dead take on Twitter the other day, and this will be the last thing I say of it, I promise.
okay.
Somebody said, honestly, you can skip Zeta and Double Zeta. You can go straight from 0079 to Char's counterattack and not miss a beat.
Oh, oh, that hurts. That hurts. Well, that's a good way to end this by saying, don't do that.
Don't
No,
do
you
that.
need to. If you had to choose one Gundam to watch a Zeta. I would say
100%.
that. So, all right, guys. That was a lot of fun. Glad we could talk about the Hathaway 2 trailer. So let us know, I guess, in the comments what you guys think. I'm really curious. Like, are people excited about it or not? You know, we discussed our reasons because of the UC-ness of it, but yeah.
Likewise. Yeah, I want to know what the general consensus is.
I'll probably post maybe a YouTube post. Those I get a lot of
Get a
comments
little
there.
poll action going.
Well, Steven, anything to add before we go?
That's all I got.
Okay, well, cool. Well, I learned a lot, especially when it comes to the characters' ideals now. Like the worldview can be thought through that. Like that is something that triggered in me. I didn't really think about before, so I appreciate that. Anyway, yeah, we're gonna head out. We'll be back next week with some more Gundam Explained stuff. So until then, have a good one. See y'all.